Nazi scientists wanted to develop a weapon against the Allied armies. Meanwhile, they were working on a device that would allow them to travel through time. This was to be done at a facility near Czechoslovakia that people called the Giant. The soldiers at the facility were also aware of what the scientists were working on. The soldiers stationed there were responsible for protecting the projects. Russian troops were closing in on the facility. But this situation did not frighten the scientists working on the project. Because the device they were working on was even more powerful. This device was also being tested on some prisoners. While volunteer prisoners were testing the device, soldiers were waiting at the door. Some officers and scientists also came to watch the experiment. When the experiment started, a strange tinkling sound was heard from the device. As the sound increased, the surroundings became blurred. One by one, the prisoners used in the experiment fell to the ground in pain. Some prisoners even turned liquid and died in agony. As the prisoners died, the sound diminished. At the end of the experiment, while the soldiers collected the bodies, the officials examined the liquid they had put into the device. During each experiment, the vehicle also damaged the environment. More volunteer prisoners were needed for the experiment to work properly. A lot of research was done in Poland in 2000 about the device the Bell. The journalist Igor Witkowski was the first to make the device public. Witkowski even described it in a book. During the interrogation of the Nazi officer Jacob Sparrenburg and some soldiers, secret recordings were made. The British writer Nick Cook, on the other hand, wrote reports about the Bell and did his best to conceal its existence from the Nazi government. According to Nazi officer Jacob Sparrenburg, the device was used to produce a fuel source. In fact, most of the scientists died while working on it. He called the device the Bell because of its appearance. The structure of the device was 4 meters high and 2.5 meters wide. Metal was used in its construction. When the device was working, the purple and blue-red mist covered an area of 200 meters. Scientists observed the experiments by placing plants in the room. However, they noticed that the plants melted the moment the device worked. He stated that the prisoners they used for the experiment died in agony and their blood turned to gel. According to Sparrenburg, the device was suspended, albeit a few meters. The Bell also contained 2 metal cylinders. The liquid added to the cylinders caused the device to rotate counterclockwise. Some researchers even believe that the substance in the cylinder is used in nuclear weapons. However, this has not yet been confirmed. The scientists also obtained thorium in their experiments. This thorium could have been converted into a radioactive element over time. Perhaps this was the Nazis' only intention. It could have been used to make an atomic bomb. According to some allegations, the environmental damage caused by the device was also deliberate. In fact, the most frightening claim is that the Nazis planned to mass-produce the device and use it in war. The scientist Otto Cerny claimed that the device was intended to be a time machine. Cerny was smuggled into the USA at the end of the Second World War. There was a mirror in this device and they could access past and future images through the mirror. So they were working on a time machine. The remains of this device are now in the town of Ludwikowice in Poland. Nazi scientists even built tunnels to hide in while carrying out these studies. It is still unclear why concrete structures similar to Stonehenge in England were built there. We have also learned from Nazi officer Rudolf S. that Jacob Sparrenburg's testimony is also true. He also gave this information. He even mentioned that the device had been smuggled in. Rudolf claimed that the scientists were evacuated when Russian forces approached the facility. There was also a lot of talk about the engineer General Hans Kammler. Hitler had put Hans in charge of the weapons program. Months before the end of the war, Hans disappeared. The Allies tried hard to find him, but to no avail. However, it was thought that he had committed suicide and his obituary was published 3 years later. Although there are many claims about Hans, we can see that Hans traveled to Austria in 1945 with 600 men. However, although American troops tracked them down, they found no trace of them. According to official reports from the Untersberg region of Austria, they went into the mountains and never came back. In fact, a writer named Stan Wolf, who traveled to Untersberg in 2011, claimed that he saw this group of soldiers, but that they went into the rock and never came out. Another eyewitness claims to have seen the soldiers, but they said they did not know the war was over. Some people claimed that Hans had this device with him and that it came and went at times. In December 1965, an object fell from the sky in the village of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. The accounts of the people who saw the object were very similar to those of Jacob Sparrenburg. They even thought it had landed in North America by mistake because they were traveling back and forth in time.